Salve omnes. I am Magistra Abelseth, and in this video I will be talking to you about noun gender and declension in Latin. Let's start with a quick review of information about nouns from some of my other videos. First of all, what is a noun? A noun is a type of a word. It can be the name of a person, the name of a place, the name of a thing, the name of an idea. One noun can belong to more than one category. For example, a school can be a place, a thing, or an idea, depending on context and how it's used in a sentence. What can nouns do? A noun can be responsible for an action as a nominative subject. In English, it looks like this: the noun before the verb. A noun can be moved or changed by an action as an accusative direct object. In English, it looks like this: after the verb, the noun. A noun can possess something as a genitive of possession, be the whole something is a part of as a partitive genitive, or be an object of another noun as an objective genitive. In English, it looks like this: of the noun. All three of those examples can be translated as of the noun. Sometimes you'll see the possession with an apostrophe s, the nouns. A noun can benefit from an action as a dative indirect object. In English, it looks like this: to or for the noun. And a noun can be a cause as an ablative of cause, an accomplice as an ablative of accompaniment, or a tool as an ablative of means. In English, you'll see ablative of cause as because of, you'll see ablative of accompaniment as with, you'll see ablative of means as by. The other ablative that you'll see sometimes is from the noun. There are a couple more uses that aren't included in this list, but this is a good place to start. The thing about the uses of the cases is that these are things about context. The difference between a genitive of possession, a partitive genitive, and an objective genitive is context, not form. The difference between an ablative of cause, an ablative of accompaniment, and an ablative of means is also context. The forms will be the same. You'll see. Now we'll talk about nouns and their gender. First, let's separate the concept of physical gender from grammatical gender. In English, we typically only think of physical, biological gender or gender identity, but what about these words? Talking about a car, yeah, she is really fast. Talking about a ship, she's a beauty. Talking about a laptop, she runs pretty well. Cars, ships, and laptops do not have biological reproductive systems, so they do not have biological gender. As far as their gender identity goes, well, they're not exactly sentient, so they can't really identify as one gender or another. Technically speaking, cars, ships, and laptops do have feminine grammatical gender, meaning we call them she rather than he or it. This is less common in modern colloquial English than it used to be. Sometimes people will have to stop and think about, oh, is my car a she or a he? And it becomes something of a question. But in slightly older English, like you only have to go 100 years back, there was an official system of certain objects being feminine or masculine. In Latin, every single noun has grammatical gender, whether it has biological gender or not. But here are some really nifty things about gender and Latin nouns. It's standard today to teach that Latin has 3 genders, and this is what we're going to be running with too for our purposes in our classes. Feminine, which is grammatically feminine. This is not the same as biologically female. Masculine, Grammatically masculine is not the same as biologically male. And neuter. Neuter is a third, separate, distinct grammatical gender. It's not no gender, and it's not both masculine and feminine. It is a third, separate gender. But here's the thing. Sometimes the Romans had arguments about whether there were more genders than that, because sometimes the noun forms behaved differently than expected, and there was an entire ongoing conversation about what grammatical gender was and how it should be defined. There's an article that was published on Medium if you want to know more about it. That's the link text there, and you can do a search on the internet for gender diversity in Latin grammar. And it should pull up this article as well as some more information and interesting tidbits about the way the Romans perceived the gender of their own language, and also how the Romans perceived gender in their own society, because their definitions were different from ours. There were some broad things, a couple of details that are pretty much the same, but for the most part, ancient Roman gender concepts were different from modern USA American gender concepts. Here's the thing. Just like gender in humans, the best way to find out the gender of a Latin noun is to ask. Just like you would ask a person about their gender identity, you ask a noun what gender it is by looking it up in a dictionary. All right, noun declensions. Declensions are noun groups. Latin nouns belong to 5 separate, distinct groups. A group of nouns is called a declension, just like how a group of crows is called a murder. They are ever so imaginatively named: first declension, second declension, third declension, fourth declension, and fifth declension. The nouns of first declension are mostly feminine. The nouns of second declension are mostly masculine and neuter. The nouns of third declension can be masculine, feminine, or neuter, and some of the nouns in third declension are both masculine and feminine at the same time. Fourth declension nouns are mostly masculine, and fifth declension nouns are entirely feminine except for the word dies, which means day, and is masculine. Here is an example of a first declension feminine noun. Magistra, magistri, meaning female teacher. Magistra, the teacher before the verb. That's the nominative singular form. The nominative plural form is magistri, the teachers before the verb. The genitive singular form is magistri, of the teacher. The genitive plural form is magistrarum, of the teachers. The dative singular form is magistri, to or for the teacher. The dative plural form is magistris, to or for the teachers. The accusative singular form is magistram, the teacher after the verb. The accusative plural form is after the verb, the teachers. The ablative singular form is magistra with a long A, and we translate that in English as by, with, or because of the teacher. And our ablative plural form is magistris, by, with, or because of the teachers. All right, some of you probably noticed genitive singular, dative singular, and nominative plural are the same in Latin. Dative plural and ablative plural are also the same in Latin. Remember to breathe if that's stressing you out. Take deep breaths, fill your brain with oxygen. And remember that context can help. When you see these words in a sentence, you'll look for word phrases, you'll look for word order, and you'll use the rest of the words in the sentence to figure out what makes sense. This is why I'm giving you the formulaic translations, so that you can decide if the phrase of the teacher makes more sense than to or for the teacher when you see magistri in a sentence. Now let's look at an example for second declension masculine. Our example word is graffiti, which is a masculine word that means pencil. The nominative singular form is graphidus. In English, this would be the pencil before the verb. The nominative plural form is graphidi, the pencils. In English, this would be the pencils before the verb. Our genitive singular form is graphidi. In English, this would be of the pencil. Our genitive plural form is graphidorum. In English, this is of the pencils. Our dative singular form is graphido, to or for the pencil. Our dative plural form is graphidis, to or for the pencils. Our accusative singular form is graphidum. In English, this word would come after the verb, and it would be the pencil. Our accusative plural form is graphidos. In English, this comes after the verb, and it would be the pencils. Our ablative singular form is graphido. In English, this would be by, with, or because of the pencil. Our ablative plural form is graphidis, and in English, this is by, with, or because of the pencils. Some of you will have noticed genitive singular and nominative plural are the same in Latin, graphidi. The dative singular and the ablative singular are the same in Latin, graphido. The dative plural and the ablative plural are the same in Latin, graphidis. Remember to breathe if you're stressed about that. Flood your brain with oxygen. And remember that context can help. When you see these words in a sentence, you'll use word phrases, word order, and the rest of the words in the sentence to help you decide whether to or for the pencils makes more sense than by, with, or because of the pencils. Now we'll look at a third declension neuter example. Carmen, carmenes. The nominative singular Latin form is carmen. In English, this would be the song before the verb. Our nominative plural Latin form is carmina. In English, this would be the songs before the verb. Our genitive singular form is carmenis, and in English, this would be of the song. Our genitive plural form is carminum, and in English, this would be of the songs. Our dative singular form is carmini, and in English, this would be to or for the song. Our dative plural form is carminibus, and in English, this would be to or for the songs. Our accusative singular form is carmen. In English, this would be after the verb, the song. Our accusative plural form is carmina, and in English, this would be after the verb, the songs. Our ablative singular form is carmine. In English, this would be by, with, or because of the song. Our ablative plural form is carminibus, and in English, this would be by, with, or because of the songs. Third declension is a lot different from first and second declension. The I in carmini is dative singular, but you had an I in second declension that was genitive singular and nominative plural. And the A in carmina is nominative or accusative plural, but the A in first declension was nominative singular. At some point, if you're going to be studying Latin for more than 5 minutes, you really should sit down and find a way to memorize the noun charts themselves. If you're one of my students in one of my classes, I'll give you some worksheets and some quizzes to help you along with that process, and we'll go through them and sing songs about them and get them stuck in our heads for the rest of our lives. Some things you probably notice about third declension itself. Dative plural and ablative plural are the same. The nominative and accusative forms of all neuter nouns are always the same, and they always end in A. Remember to breathe, and know that context will help. Word phrases, word order, and the rest of the words in the sentence will help you decide whether to or for the songs is a better translation than by, with, or because of the songs. The difference between third declension neuter and the masculine and feminine forms of third declension is that instead of the A for nominative plural and the A for accusative plural, the ending would be es. So for example, milites the soldiers before the verb. Milites, the soldiers after the verb. Fourth declension and fifth declension. These words are not especially rare. These words are not especially common. They are kind of rare. You don't see them too often. Usually when you do see them, they look like they belong to second or third declension anyway, and you can figure out how to make it fit the sentence without really knowing the declensions. If you're one of those people that really wants to memorize every single detail, then you should also work on memorizing these charts while you're working on first, second, and third declension. But if you're one of my students in one of my classes, I don't require these charts to be memorized. Know that they exist, know that they're a thing, know where to go to look them up in case you need to, but don't stress about them. That was a lot of information. The bottom line is this. You need to be able to recognize the forms of all nouns in first, second, and third declensions. First declension feminine, second declension masculine, second declension neuter, third declension feminine masculine, and third declension neuter. So that you can identify the case of every noun when you read Latin, so that you can read with fluency and translate with ease. Magistra, the teacher before the verb, graffiti, of the pencil or the pencils before the verb, carminibus, to or for the songs, or by with, because of, or from the songs. You'll also see these noun endings on adjectives, participles, and some verbs. So if you're in one of my classes, pay attention to the noun charts, and please make sure that you get them memorized.